Hello friends, this is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to talk to you about how high gross sales can actually be a reason not to buy a business. Years ago I was looking at buying a restaurant, and the restaurant was bringing in around $300,000 per year in gross sales. That sounds pretty good. But they kept kind of dodging the subject of the profit, the net profit. Eventually, when I looked down in the figures, it was bringing in $30,000 net profit a year. You could go work somewhere and not spend a penny on the business, just go work somewhere else and make $30,000 a year, and you would have no liabilities, you wouldn't have any chance of any problems, you wouldn't have all the workload, the employees to manage, any of that stuff. But one thing that was interesting was this business had a little bit larger gross sales than a lot of restaurants in its industry. But all it needed with that only $30,000 a year, so basically around a little close to $3,000 a month profit, it just needed one problem to completely destroy all its profit potential and lose huge amounts of money. When you have a large staff that is part of your expense and the food cost and all these things, if they had any kind of food that they serve that went up in cost, their wholesale cost, if they need to hire more staff or they had to pay more to be competitive, any of these things could have easily eaten all that profit and they would have nothing. Now if you turned around and bought a business that was only bringing in about $40,000 profit a year, but it had 0 employees, it didn't have any of these liabilities or didn't need all this inventory that potentially could have went up in price and caused you a loss, this is something to consider. That restaurant business I was looking at, they wanted $400,000 for the business. Why would I invest $400,000 to earn $30,000 a year? And that's at best. Those sales, they never talk it up in the way it really is, that, well, this month it could go down, or we're seeing the writing on the wall, or there's 4 other restaurants that serve the same food we have that are going in around the community. They're not going to tell you any of that stuff. Sometimes they have to disclose some of these things, but many times they just let you hopefully figure it out, and they really hope you don't. Too many people are out there looking for business opportunities that are ready-made, that are already up and running, and they're trying to spend huge amounts of money. You would be better off, like for that restaurant example, spending that $400,000, maybe starting a small business of $50,000 and see how that does. Put your all into it, give everything you have, but see how it does. If it takes off, great. But you could do so much better with less money. This idea that, well, oh look, this company is selling $1 million a year. Well, how much is their profit? I don't care if they have $1 million a year in sales, if their profit for the year is $10,000, or they're losing money. You know how easy it is to start having a huge loss the more sales you get? Think of this. If you had $10,000 a year in sales and your supplier raised the cost, what's the worst that can happen? You lose a few grand? But if you have $1 million in sales and now your supplier raises the cost of the main product you're selling or part of the product, and you now start incurring $100,000, $200,000 in losses. The larger the amount of sales, your sales volume, the total sales, you're going to have more potential for greater losses. This is where you have to have good net profits. You can't have these small piddly net profits. I see businesses all the time, and people contact me about, well, this business here and this business here, would you like this? I got this great business idea. They have 0 profit. They haven't had profit in years. There seems to be no potential for profit even. And they want $500,000, they want $1 million, and they don't even have a profitable business. Or the profits they have are so minimal that there's no cushion for any kind of issue that arises commonly in a business. Whether it be you need to take on more employees, you have higher expenses in this area, the cost of gas goes up, so your transportation costs go up. There's all kinds of things that could happen, especially depending on the industry you're in, and you have to have a very high net profit. This idea of just looking at people's gross sales and thinking, oh, that's great, look, we got $1 million in sales. In one industry I'm in, I know people have $3 million a year in sales, and they are bringing in total $40,000 profit. They are literally one single bad month away from losing an entire year's worth of profit. I'd rather be the person selling $100,000 a year with $40,000 profit, that if I have a few bad months, I'm still going to have $20,000, $30,000 profit. So my friends, be very careful when you get enticed with high gross sales numbers and these people saying, well, I made $4 million a year. Well, no, you brought in $4 million a year in sales. What is your profit? And they never want to talk about that, because normally the high sales numbers is all they have going for them. When you dig down into the numbers, you see these people have $50,000 a year, $20,000. I knew one company that was doing fairly well, supposedly, and you broke down their numbers, they're $5 million a year in sales. They were averaging about $15,000 a year profit. And these weren't book numbers where they deducted things that really weren't losses and things like that. They literally were bringing in $15,000 a year in net profit. That was it. Anything could have affected them and drove them out of business. Any kind of upturn in the cost of gas, their product costs, anything could have destroyed them. That is not where you need to be. You need to make sure your business, or any business you're considering buying, has a good profit ratio at this point and is continuing as it scales up. Obviously, as you scale up, you probably have to drop your return on investment a little, but be very careful with this. Too many people get their eyes focused on total sales numbers and not profit. In the end, it is profit. Why work yourself to the bone when you are bringing in $1 million a year in sales and you're getting $20,000 a year in profit? That's ridiculous. You could go somewhere, work at a fast food restaurant, make the same amount of money, and have zero stress, zero responsibilities. All you gotta do is show up, do your job, and leave. Don't get yourself caught up in this game of following big numbers that have little profit behind them. I hope this has been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.